Welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show. My partner Terry's out there doing some apostolic work, as he always is. The guy never ceases to amaze me in terms of his dedication to the apostolate. Couple things I want to talk about today. Pope Leo denounces barbarism of Israeli attacks in his July 20th Angelus address from Castle Gandolfo. Pope Leo delivered one of the strongest condemnations yet of the war in Gaza, denouncing the violence as barbarism and calling Israel's July 17th attack on the Holy Family Catholic Parish just one of the continuous military attacks against the civilian population and places of worship in Gaza. Also, U.S. Ambassador to Israel condemns settler attacks. U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, visited Tebe, the last all-Christian town in the Holy Land, after radical Jewish settlers nearly destroyed the 5th century church of St. George by setting a fire nearby. Huckabee condemned it as an act of terror and a crime in a statement. There should be consequences, and it should be harsh consequences, because it is one of the last bastions of our civilization, the places where we worship. Good for Mike Huckabee, because I know he's a Christian Zionist, so it took a lot of guts for him to do that. Conservatives call for arrest after Russia hoax. Conservatives are calling for the arrest and prosecution of former President Barack Obama and many of his top lieutenants after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard revealed Friday that the Obama administration manipulated data to manufacture claims that President Donald Trump colluded with Russia to rig the 2016 election. Also, many flood victims have been found safe. Kerr County, Texas officials reported Saturday that of the nearly 100 people listed as missing at last count since deadly flash flooding overtook Texas on July 4th, only 3 people now are missing, reports Lorenzo Prieto. The rest previously thought to have been missing have been found safe. Also, Trump calls on sports teams to change names back. Trump is calling for major sports teams to ditch their politically correct new name and revert back to traditional names. The Washingtons, whatever, should be immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team, he wrote. Likewise, the Cleveland Indians, one of the 6 original baseball teams with a storied past. Also, New Hampshire Republican governor vetoes pro-parent bill. New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte, the Republican, vetoed a bill July 15th that would have allowed parents to challenge books they consider to be inappropriate and have them removed from public schools. Shame on this Republican governor. He should be he should be turned out. Somebody should run against him. And I hope he never holds another political office again. Also, the Josephinum Academy of the Sacred Heart, a Catholic high school for girls in Chicago, has assured its long-term survival thanks to the assistance of the Catholic Initiative, a beloved institution founded in 1890. The Josephinum, in partnership with the Pope Family Charitable Foundation, has raised $9.4 million to purchase its campus, which it has leased since 1885. Also, Saint of the Day. Today, the church celebrates St. Lawrence of Brindisi, doctor of the church, born in 1559 in Naples. A gifted preacher and scholar fluent in Hebrew, he serves as a Capuchin missionary and a papal diplomat. And today's readings at Holy Mass. Speak, Lord, your servants are listening. Matthew chapter 12, verses 28 to 42. Some of the Pharisees said to Jesus, "Teacher, we wish to see a sign from you." He said to them in reply, "An evil and unfaithful generation seeks a sign, but no sign will be given to it, except the sign of Jonah the prophet. Just as Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. At the judgment, the men of Nineveh will arise with this generation and condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah." And there is something better than Jonah here. At the judgment of the queen of the south will arise, and with this generation and condemn it because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and there is something greater than Solomon here. Close quote. Here's a bit of salvation history. Everything in the Old Testament prefigures a greater, more perfect reality in the New Testament. So the Old Testament is a type or a prefigurement or a foreshadow of New Testament types and fulfillments and realities. So, for example, in today's gospel, St. Matthew talks about Jonah. Jonah was a type of Christ. Jonah, it says, just as he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. Yeah, that was at his death. His body was literally buried for 3 days and 3 nights on the belly of the earth. That's what he's talking about here. And Matthew also talks about today that the Queen of Sheba, that she came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and there is something greater than Solomon here. Who's the something greater than Solomon? Jesus. Jesus is greater than Solomon. Jesus is the fulfillment of King Solomon. Solomon was the wisest man in the world at the time. Jesus is the wisest man in the universe, the God man. Then you have Adam. Jesus is the fulfillment of Adam. Adam was a type of Christ. Jesus is the fulfillment of the type. He's the antitype. Jesus is the perfect Adam. The first Adam met a serpent in a garden and he lost through fear. The second Adam met another serpent in a garden called Calvary, and he faced his fears and won. His death and resurrection won the day for us. You also have Christ as a type of Moses. Moses gave us the law. Jesus has given us the new covenant law on Mount Sinai. So the point that I'm making is that the Old Testament, every person in the Old Testament, Samson was a type of Christ. The strongest man in the world at that time, Christ is the strongest man to ever live. Just watch the movie The Passion of the Christ. Everything about the Old Testament types point to Jesus. Jesus is the fulfillment of those types. Okay, so today we're going to have on the next segment and for the rest of the show, we're going to have Paul List. He wrote a book. It's called Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien. And so this book is critical and timely as artificial intelligence becomes a greater threat to humanity. J.R.R. Tolkien stated that his mythology was intentionally Catholic and that it was about the fall, mortality, and the machine. So that machine is AI, according to the author, and he's going to explain everything and all the secrets that have confounded the scholars for decades. So Paul List will be on next, and we'll be talking about the new book that he wrote. It's called Mount Doom. And by the way, you can pick up that book at readmountdoom.com, readmountdoom.com. So Paul List, the main author of the book, Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien Revealed, this book is critical and timely because as artificial intelligence becomes a greater and greater threat to humanity, we want to know more about it. What is this? J.R.R. Tolkien stated that his mythology was intentionally Catholic and that it was about the fall, mortality, and the machine. The machine, the author is going to argue, is AI. The machine is AI, and Paul List is going to explain everything and all the secrets that have confounded scholars for decades. The Lord of the Rings is the most popular literature in the world, and this book shows why it's also the most important. As Pope Leo XIV has stated that AI will be a major concern and focus for his pontificate. The book currently has a 4.9 star rating on Amazon, and readers are amazed and encouraged. This is the perfect time to make the Catholic world aware of what J.R.R. Tolkien gave us. And getting his message out is critical for the salvation of souls, but it's been very difficult for the author to do so as a result of the algorithms. AI is a hot topic today, and J.R.R. Tolkien is a global phenomenon with incredible star power. J.R.R. Tolkien stated that he wrote his mythology to be enjoyed by readers, and yet that was only the beginning. But there are more to Tolkien's words beyond the fairy tale. So that's what we'll be talking up next to Paul List. He's the author of the book Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien. For decades, interpreters have guessed at the underlying message contained within Tolkien's mythology, yet until now, no one has pulled together a comprehensive interpretation of the deeper hidden messages within the greatest mythological tale ever told. And so I can't wait to get into this interview with Paul List, author of the book Mount Doom, The Prophecies of Tolkien Revealed. And I'm certainly fascinated to see what he has to say. He's basically saying J.R.R. Tolkien has prophesied what's happening right now with AI. We'll be right back with the author, Paul List. Stick around, don't go anywhere.
Hebrews 11:3 says, "By faith we come to understand." According to St. Augustine, understanding is the reward of faith. Therefore, seek not to understand that you may believe, but believe that you may understand. May God grant us a strong living faith in Him and His divine plan of salvation, and help us to believe so that we may understand.
We got Ernesto from Long Beach.
I just wanted to comment, and I just wanted to thank you guys. And I kind of wanted to encourage people that are listening, maybe that are not donating, because honestly, I got to be honest, I used to think you guys were a little
Too over the top. That's right.
If God gave us a lot, and I have the blessing of listening to all this, and I just want to call all the people, I got 5 kids. I don't make a lot of money, and I'm still donating to you guys.
God bless you, brother. You're amazing.
We have to do this. We have to do the extra. And it's not even the extra. People see it like it's extra. Kneeling for communion, saying your rosary, saying the Divine Mercy Chaplet. It is not extra. It's what the church tells us to do. 29 years old, 5 kids, and I thank you guys. But everybody else, man, get on fire. Fight for the truth, man. I know what I'm telling you guys. There's so
love it.
Out there.
Hello, this is Bishop Joseph Strickland with Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Are you buying or selling a home? Then support Real Estate for Life. They will get you a pro-life agent who gives part of their donation to a pro-life organization like Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Just go to vmpr.org and click on the Real Estate for Life button. May God bless you for your generosity.
Welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show. We've got Paul List. He's the author of Mount Doom, The Prophecies of Tolkien Revealed. And this is going to be an interesting conversation because I know that Paul says that AI could be or is the biblical beast that's here to deceive and destroy us. Paul, welcome to the show, my friend. Can't wait to get into this with you.
Thanks for having me, Jesse. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yep. So Paul List is a scholar. He's a philosopher. And he's an author who wrote this gripping, unnerving book, Mount Doom, in a world racing towards artificial intelligence that nobody can deny and a transhumanist future. Paul stands at the gates waving a red flag. I guess like the British are coming. The British are coming. AI is coming. AI is coming. So, yeah, you even the Pope is weighed in on this topic. So, Paul, first of all, some people may not even know what Lord of the Rings are, believe it or not. So, give us a quick overview of the movie, the book called Lord of the Rings, for those who have not seen it.
Okay, well, first off, I'm gonna keep it within the context of the books, because as well done as the Lord of the Rings movies were, and they were really well done, not the Hobbit movies, but the original three Lord of the Rings movies were incredibly well done, but they're also kind of a distraction because they changed so many things and they left so many things out because they had no idea. Of course, I'm not bragging, but nobody's really had any idea what the book is actually about. That's why nobody's known who the character Tom Bombadil and his wife Goldberry are, because nobody really understands the mythology. That's why they were left out of the movie, because Peter Jackson had no idea who they were like anybody else. So if you don't mind, I'll just get that right out of the way and let's just solve that issue. Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are the transmigrated fallen spirits of the silver tree, Telperion, that's Tom, and the golden tree, Laurelin, that's Goldberry. And they are in the psychology, they're fallen now. Middle Earth is the material brain. Okay, it's not about this world. It's about Arda, within which Middle Earth is the brain, is a single human soul. It's so Tolkien wrote essentially a parallel or a partner story to the book of Genesis about the creation of all the universe, and he kind of left it kind of in that ambiguity, and he knew people would go that route and they'd fall into that and they'd try to find out what it was about by going that route. Well, that you're already lost if you're going that route. Tolkien would never write a competitive story to the book of Genesis. He wrote a parallel complementary story about the creation of a single human soul. And then he gives character to all the facets of the soul. And this is all scholastic psychology. It's all Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologia. And then he puts it in direct conflict with all the sophistries and innovations, destructive innovations that came out of the Enlightenment. So it really is a tale about a soul caught between several things, but most philosophically caught between the reality of the Thomas Aquinas human being is a substantial unity, body and soul inseparable. It make the body and soul together, make a new substance. Okay, and that substance is the human being. Okay, Descartes split that and returned more or less to Plato and Bacon's form of dualism, or Plato's form of dualism. Bacon did too. But then, and so you've got the body separated now from the soul and only connected with the pineal gland somewhere in the brain. And what it does is, because they had turned all of in the Enlightenment, thanks to Francis Bacon and the new modern scientific method that he fathered right after the Reformation. This is a direct result of the Reformation. Okay, he fathered the new scientific method, and they poo-pooed on Aristotle and Aquinas and said they were good for nothing because they never made us rich, never gave us pleasure, never gave us any of this stuff that's really important, all the physical material stuff. And then Descartes picked up on his work, and then they wrote the roadmap to the Industrial Revolution, the age of the machines. And they made everything a machine. The universe itself, everything had to be mechanical. Everything was explainable by itself. In other words, nature had to explain itself, even its own creation, which is preposterous because you can't bring in God in any level. You can never bring in a creator. So, of course, science is always going to be lost. Science, by the way, is just the systematized knowledge of any subject, any object of thought. It's just human knowledge. But now it's become a new religion.
Yeah. Paul, so you've obviously basically given us the reason why this mythological work of Tolkien is so important.
Mm-hmm.
But Tolkien published The Lord of the Rings back in 1954.
Yep.
So that's 71 years ago.
Yep.
How does his work engage with our world today? You're definitely going down that path, but continue.
Yeah. Well, he saw the end of the many things, the convergence of the information age, the convergence of the Industrial Revolution, which is the age of the machine, and that would also be greatly enhanced by Darwinism, which was a big motivator in academia. He was a professor of literature and language at the University of Oxford. So he knew what was coming. He had also, what many people don't understand, was he was recruited by the British government to be part of a top secret code cracking team in 1939 in advance of knowing that World War II was coming. And they knew that the Germans' Enigma machine, this coding machine, was very key to their success. And they would have to break that and to disrupt communication between the Nazi, submarines, U-boats, and infantry, and the Luftwaffe, and their whole instrument of war depended upon the security of their ability to communicate with their troops all over Europe and in the Atlantic and the Pacific. But anyway, so they recruited 50 scholars, British scholars, to be part of a code cracking team called the Government Code and Cipher School. And Tolkien, being the world's leading philologist, he spoke about 12 languages. He was very popular after this. Is about 3 years after 18 months after the publication of The Hobbit. So he was recruited and he trained for 3 days, and on staff there was Alan Turing, the famed mathematician who'd won a very prestigious mathematical prize for breaking or solving we'll call it the Enscheidungs problem. And he wrote a paper in 1936 called oh gosh, it's going to skip my mind because I've got so many things running through my mind all at the same time. It's hard to, but anyway, it's on computable numbers with an application to the Enscheidungs problem, where he actually invents the computer on paper. So Tolkien knows what this guy's going to do. He's going to create a machine more powerful than the machine the Nazis had. And Tolkien was very skeptical about machinery. He wrote in a letter to his son, Christopher, who was away, I believe, at war. And he wrote to him and said, the only winner in any war is machines. Wow. And so he's a great skeptic about machinery. And so he opted out. He knew that defeating this machine was just going to be the realm of the statistician, the mathematician, not about language. So he got out and he kept tabs on Alan Turing, and he wrote a mythology then to actually, in God's time, this was a great act of faith from J.R.R. Tolkien. A great act of faith, because he wrote the mythology. He never explained it to anybody. He tried to push people off, trying to make something out of it that it wasn't. And the Nazis tried to do that. You didn't want Stalin doing that or anybody else doing that. But he really wanted it. He left it in God's hands to be interpreted at the time when it was necessary. And lo and behold, God revealed it to me, just a regular person, revealed it to me and showed me what I needed to study to understand it. And I did. And
Paul, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
There, many authors, they've acknowledged that Tolkien's Catholic faith, it was central to his work and to his writings. And you're basically talking about his Thomistic background now. It was his Catholic faith was represented in these mythological works, correct?
Oh, definitely, but very slyly. What a lot of people don't really understand was he took great inspiration from the writings of Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich. Oh, wow. And she's a powerhouse, an absolute powerhouse. And we really, really, really need to come back to a veneration and canonize Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich. I think if we really want to pull the rug out from under the heretics in the German church, all the Pope has to do is just canonize Blessed Anne Catherine, who's German and buried there, and it will really turn the world's attention back to. She's at the heart, of course, of Gibson's Passion of the Christ. Her Dolores Passions are what inspired that. And her actual account, though, is if you watch the Passion after reading her account, you realize that the Passion movie is very, very gentle compared to what actually happened to Jesus.
Wow,
very, much more brutal. Yeah. But Paul, so he go ahead.
How can people, before I continue, how can people get a hold of your book?
Well, they can, give the monster more money and go to Amazon. It's doing really well on Amazon. Or they can go to anywhere, Barnes and Noble, or any of the booksellers online have it online. But I don't make hardly anything, me and my co-author, or you can go to readmountdoom.com and order a book there, and I'll sign it and I'll put it in the mail for you, where I make a little bit of money. But
go to that website. Don't go to the monsters. Go say it again. Your website. Say it.
Yeah, at readmountdoom.com.
That's where I recommend anybody get this book. Yeah, the monsters don't need any more money. So Paul,
But I
you're
want the book to get out there because it's not about the money, it's about the message, and it's
absolutely
a truly Catholic message. And the Catholic Church, you'll find out, can take great hope, particularly the real TLM, real Catholics can really take hope in the work of J.R.R. Tolkien. He's coming right up front and center in this culture war, and he's
who
here.
by the way, used to go to the TLM mass because that's all that was around back then.
Yeah, he was an altar server for, I believe, something like 9 or 11 years at the Birmingham Oratory. He
Wow.
actually lived in the cottage of St. John Henry Newman, with John Henry Newman's grave right outside the door. Him and his brother Hilary and his widowed mother Mabel, who, by the way, we dedicated the book to because it's because of her martyrdom for the faith that we have J.R.R. Tolkien at all.
Wow. Talking to Paul List here, he's written the book Mount Doom, and he's going to be getting into it. The fact is, this AI could be the biblical beast that was being spoken of, at least mythologically, by Tolkien. And Paul is unpacking this is because we've hit a critical point in human history, and we're asking ourselves, the direction of our digital evolution. Where's it going to end? And so we're getting into all these metaphysical questions. And are we coming into an existential crisis? I'm here with Paul List, the author of the book of Mount Doom. Paul, let me ask you, your interpretation of Tolkien's Legendarium is unique, totally different than any other author has proposed or considered. And there are many authors who have their own interpretation, yet none of them have come to the conclusion that you have. So the question is, how is it possible that no one else has come to the conclusion you have? I guess it's you and your, you also got a co-author, correct?
Yeah, he helped me put it together. The interpretation is mine. He would have no trouble with that. He wasn't really involved in the interpretation. He actually was an imperial power to get it done.
Hold that thought. We're coming into a hard break. We're going to come back here, talk to Paul List about his new book, Mount Doom. Recommend that you get it from readmountdoom.com. Readmountdoom.com. It is the prophecy of Tolkien revealed. We'll be right back. Stick around.
Here's a great way to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Do you have an old car you want to get rid of, motorcycle, RV, or boat? Simply call 855-500-7433, and when they sell that vehicle, a portion of that money comes right back to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio. It's an easy way to do it. I want to thank you for it. Call 855-500-7433. God love you and your family.
This is a minute meditation from Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
God has given us a new birth into an imperishable, unsullied, and unfading inheritance, kept in heaven for you. 1 Peter chapter 1 verses 3 to 4. According to St. Augustine, you have within you everything you need to purchase the kingdom of heaven. Joy will be purchased by your sorrow, rest by your labor, glory by your humiliation, and eternal life by your passing death. Loving Father, teach us how to make every event on earth, lay up treasures for us in heaven. Help us to endure sorrows, labors, humiliations, and death willingly, so as to attain heaven.
This has been a minute meditation from Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
Terry Barber here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. I'm encouraging people to support realestateforlife.org. They'll have a pro-life agent for you. California's laws for the family are really bad. If you have a young family and you can afford to get out of California, get out and make a new life somewhere where you're not going to have the repressive laws. For example, if your son wants to change his sex and you don't want that to happen, the school can take your child away from you. Yes, that's how bad it is, folks. That's why I'm encouraging you to go to realestateforlife.org. God bless you for supporting Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
Back at the Terry and Jesse Show. Remember, the month of July is dedicated to the precious blood of Jesus. And this feast goes all the way back to the Last Supper and the foot of the cross. Talking to Paul Liss here, he's the author of Mount Doom, the prophecy of Tolkien revealed. And I would recommend this has to be a fascinating read, because he's talking about things that refer to us right now, the whole artificial intelligence. And his interpretation is sound, and it comes from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. You could get the book from readmountdoom.com, readmountdoom.com. Let me ask you a question again, in case you forgot, because we got hit with a hard break. The question is, your interpretation of Tolkien's legendarium is unique. It's totally different from what other authors have proposed or considered. And there are many authors who have their own interpretation, yet none of them have come to the conclusion that you have, that he was talking about AI. So how is it possible that no one else has come to the conclusion that you have?
Well, it wasn't part of God's providence that anybody else would come to it. I mean, that's where I'll start. But also, most of the other authors, you'll know, I probably am the only Tolkien scholar, author that's self-educated. And I educated myself as a scholastic philosopher, not influenced at all by the Enlightenment. Although I've read most of the prominent Enlightenment, I call them innovators. I don't really give them the courtesy of calling them philosophers, because they really weren't. At best, they were mathematicians, but they weren't really philosophers. So I gave myself a true scholastic education. I actually studied Plato. I studied Aristotle deeply. I did the theorems of Euclid on my own. I studied music theory on my own. I studied the church fathers. I studied church history. I've read hundreds of encyclicals. I've really God put the fear in me. He gave me a vision, and I took the vision very seriously. And then he gave me a fear, and then he made it work. So everything that I needed to read and understand was always there for me at the time that I needed it. And I read it, and I read voraciously. And so when I turned all this reading and understanding, I turned it to Tolkien philosophy. All of a sudden, I mean, the Tolkien mythology, it became crystal clear what it was. It's really steeped in scholasticism. It's Thomas Aquinas versus Descartes. There are two languages at war with each other. That should surprise no one, because of Tolkien's love for language. The two languages that are at war are the most universal and beautiful of all language, which is contained in the harmonic overtone series, which is the language of the ratio of motion. We've derived the scale systems and all of our wonderful music because of that, discovered by Pythagoras in about 500 BC. But that's the language of all motion. All motion has to vibrate according to the laws of harmonics. And against that is the ugliest language of them all, and that's the language of machine, or machine code. And that's ones and zeros. And I'll let you know a little secret. That is the ring. The ring is 1 and 0, the ring, and it's digital, and you wear it. And it is the language of the machine that makes everything possible, from robotics to self-driving cars to the virtual realm, which is where the Black Riders live, because they are virtual reality. They're not living beings. They're not here, and they're a complete illusion. So when you put on Frodo, for instance, puts on the ring, he enters the virtual realm, and the agents of virtual reality, who are controlled by Sauron, who is AI. The Tower of Barad-dûr is the microchip in the cerebellum. Okay, and the eye, the great eye, is the scanner eye, straight out of Turing's paper, where he invented the computer in 1936 on computable numbers, talking about the scanner eye, the electric scanner eye that was looking for the ones and zeros. It's looking for ones and zeros on the tape, okay, where he invents this. And that's the eye looking for the ring, ones and zeros. Okay, to go specifically to your question, anybody who has tried to figure out what Tolkien was actually saying has been really heavily influenced by academia. Modern academia has left a huge scar on their intellect. And I'll say that maybe the few that have actually studied, really studied on their own, not just read because you got an assignment or I got a degree in something. I mean, did you read, Contra Gentiles because you loved it? Did you read the Summa Theologia and study it and go back and go through it again and again and because you loved it or just because you wanted to get a degree? And there's a huge difference.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
What I saw very readily was that all the facets of the soul were and the virtues and the vices and all the nature that makes us human were given character. For instance, the hobbits are habits. That's why in the Lord of the Rings, in the whole mythology, the word habit is used 9 times. It's used 8 times in one chapter, and that's the prologue called Concerning Hobbits. And they are habits. And so we've got, because the Shire is the realm of the virtue, and it's all laid out in the old pseudo-Victorian science called, I think it's phrenology, where you've got a picture of the head or a profile of the head, and all these areas are laid out of the head for what everything is responsible for. Well, the Shire self-perfection is right there. The cerebellum is the land of Mordor, and that's where the Victorians thought that that's where all evil and fear and crime came. Okay, so
and of course Tolkien would have known all that. What you're saying?
Tolkien had a brilliant scholastic education. He knew very well. His stepfather or his guardian, Father Francis Morgan, had been St. John Henry Newman's personal secretary for 25 years. So John Henry Newman, I've got to do the research, but I have no doubt he was heavily influenced to convert by the writings of Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich. Wow. He was a very big fan of hers, and I have no doubt that and I've tried to look. I can't get a hold of anybody at the Birmingham Oratory because they won't return my emails.
Yeah,
but I would love to go and see John Henry Newman's personal library, which they taped off and the day he died, and it stayed there. I don't know that he has any of the Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich books in his, because they were little paperbacks back in the day. They outsold everybody. They were hugely popular in Europe, and they caused a lot of conversions. And I have no doubt that they were in his cottage, and I have very little doubt that Mabel Tolkien read them to him and Hillary when they were very, very young. Yeah, go ahead.
So when did you, Paul List, begin to see the? When did you first begin to see the true meaning of Tolkien's work? And what was the spark that started your quest to understand what Tolkien intended? Because there's a lot of people that have also, gone down that road as well.
Yeah.
And isn't it a great risk to insist that your personal understanding is something Tolkien actually communicated to us?
Yeah, that's what I get a lot of that. People, typically the argument is, you're making it an allegory. And I've had a very, very well-known Catholic author that we actually sent the manuscript to, inviting him to write the foreword. And he said, well, this is unbelievable. This is so thorough. This is just so complete. I'm blown away, but you're making it an allegory. And Tolkien said he hated allegory. Therefore, either Tolkien's a liar or you're wrong. It's like, well, he didn't say he hated allegory. He said he cordially disliked the obvious type of allegory that dominates your mind. That's certainly not what Tolkien did. Tolkien said that his mythology was an allegory about power, not nuclear power, not the bomb, but about power. And he said that the allegorical language can't be avoided because you're making a story about people. So you have to have people in the story, and they have to represent. When he said that it's essentially Catholic history, he said it's about the fall, and it's about mortality, and it's about the machine. All I do is point out exactly how he goes about showing us that and making it about those things. But I always have a certain number of people to say, oh, you're making an allegory, therefore that can't be it. And you can't try to make something out of Tolkien's work. He just wanted it to be entertainment. No, he didn't want people extrapolating, inventing ideas out of it and making it mean things that it certainly didn't. And he knew that when somebody finally figured it out, there would be no denying it. When you look at the book and you actually read the book, and it covers the whole legendarium from the Song of Creation in the Ainu, are called the Ainu Lindale, all the way. And then I go beyond and I show you how it would actually finish, how it would actually finish the mythology would in the ultimate end, because the whole mythology is about Tom and Goldberry, because they are the rational will and the intellect. This is scholastic psychology. We have the 14 facets of the sentient soul: vegetative, sentient, and the appetitive. And those are all called the Velar. And if you look at it, and I line it up in the book, but above those are the will, the free will, and the intellect. And those are the light. Those are the trees of light. Tom is the golden tree, Telperion. Tom is the silver tree, Telperion. Goldberry is the gold tree, Laurelin. And then when they die, because they're killed by mortal sin, Ungoliant, the giant, the great spider, is mortal sin. The big bad guy, Sauron's boss in the beginning, was Melkor. He is original sin. He brings mortal sin there to kill the trees, and they darken the trees. But when they release spirits. Yeah.
Let me get one more question before we hit a hard break. If the message that Tolkien intended was so important, why didn't he just say it in plain language and instead hide his message in what seems like a code, risking that it would never be discovered at all?
It would never be as prolific. It would never have been so widespread and saturated all around the world. It would have been stomped out. He lived in a very anti-Catholic domain in England. His mother, Mabel, was actually virtually starved to death by her in-laws and her own parents because she wouldn't return to Protestantism. She had discovered the faith, and she wanted to pass it on to her two young sons, even at the cost of her life. Wow. So she died very, very young. So Tolkien was surrounded by, they barely tolerated Catholics at any level. They tolerated J.R.R. because he was brilliant. But he knew that if he just put it out in the open, it would have been attacked from all sides and it would have been canceled. Cancel culture is very real. It's been around for a long time. And so he left it in God's hands. He left it in the providence of God that he would just finish it. He would what he did was he created a masterpiece of a jigsaw puzzle. Then he put it in a box and put the wrong picture on the cover, and everybody's looked at that picture and he fooled everybody. That's not
hold that thought, my friend. We're going to a hard break.
Yep.
Talking to Paul List, author of Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien. We'll be right back. I got some more questions to ask him regarding this topic. You can get the book at readmountdoom.com.
Hey, Terry Rodriguez. I'm a monthly donor here in Phoenix, Arizona. Retired Phoenix cop. And I've met Jesse before. And I just want to tell you, you guys were on fire yesterday on the Terry and Jesse show. You guys were on fire. I went to bed thinking, man, what an unwinnable war. But when I got up, I listened to you guys. You know, you guys are doing good work, man. You're doing God's work, and keep doing it. I know it gets exhausting sometimes, but there's people out here that really need the inspiration and evangelization that you guys are giving us. So my best to you. And I'm Eddie Rodriguez. I'm a monthly donor and proud of it.
How does the baby move in your tummy? How does the baby eat? Can the baby hear me? How did the baby get in there?
Wow, a pregnancy can sure generate a lot of questions. But what's important is that a baby is a baby, inside and out of the womb. Not just after birth, but 9 months before. At conception.
That's right. Every baby is a miracle. Hello, my name is Marianne Koharski. I'm the director of Pro-Life Across America. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of alternatives or assistance or would like to support the work of Pro-Life Across America, please visit our website at prolifeacrossamerica.org, or better yet, simply dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword pro-life. Pro-Life Across America is non-political and totally educational.
A baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception.
Pro-life across America, the Billboard people.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
I'm having a conversation with Paul Liss, the author of the book Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien Revealed. You can get the book at readmountdoom.com, readmountdoom.com. The question is AI the biblical beast? Well, the author Paul Liss, he says that it's here to deceive and to destroy us. And he's making a thoughtful, compelling argument if you've been listening to the program. So I asked you before, and we got hit with a hard break, so I'm going to just ask again for those that are just tuning in. If the message Tolkien intended was so important, why didn't he just say so in plain language instead hide his message in what seemed like a coded language, risking that it would never be discovered at all?
Because like I had been saying, it would have been stomped out by the very anti-Catholic world that he lived in. And it certainly wouldn't have been, he wanted to make it as entertaining and unthreatening as possible. So it would seep in to the human culture, particularly the Christendom, the Western world. It would seep into that unobstructed because it didn't seem to threaten anyone. And I've compared it to like the antidote to the bite of a snake or something. It's the antidote where the venom is seeped through us and we're terribly sick and we're in a terrible, terrible distemper or a fever. And the antidote then is laying there, waiting there till there's a proper fever. And at that proper temperature, maybe it's 103 or so, we'll just use an analogy. All of a sudden, the antidote is activated and it fights back. And that's Tolkien's mythology. Even the Pope is talking about AI these days. Yep. And so let's go back to the book, Tolkien's book. How is Sauron with the eye in mortar artificial intelligence? And how can you explain how Tolkien makes that connection? And what is Tolkien's solution? What's his defense against AI? Well, his defense, will start there. His defense against AI are the habits, and those are the hobbits. That's why they're the heroes. Okay? The four main hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, and Merry, are the cardinal virtues. Frodo is temperance. Sam is fortitude. They're the interior virtues. Okay? This is why Gollum, who's intemperance, by the way, calls Frodo master, not because Frodo has the ring. Frodo's the only one who can carry the ring because he's temperance. Temperance moderates our appetites and our desires of the flesh. Gollum has no temperance. He's intemperance. The only one that can master him is Frodo. Okay, Sam is fortitude. That's why he never gives up. He's always there for the two younger hobbits. They're the exterior, called the exterior. They're prudence and justice, and that's why they live outside the Shire. They live in Tookland and Buckland. So an interesting thing too, I find this funny too, they're called appetitive. The four cardinal virtues are called appetitive virtues, and that's why Tolkien gives them such huge appetites and they're eating all the time. So Tolkien is a huge humorist. His humor is just brilliant. So we have to cultivate the cardinal virtues. The machine said of itself, we quote in the book in 2018, Big Oxford AI, said of itself that AI is just a tool. It cannot be ethical. It cannot be moral. Okay. And the best way to avoid the dangers of AI is to stop AI. That's what it said of itself. So the remedy, the solution is we have to become saints. We have to rise above this realm, the realm of the material, the realm of the machine, the realm that's mastered by all the ideologies and innovations of the industrial and information age. And we have to return to our humanity. And ultimately, we have to, Aragorn and Erwin have to come back together. And that is the reunification of faith and reason in the mind. The whole mythology is a response to Pope Leo the 13th's wonderful encyclical Aeterni Patris, where he pleads with the Western world to do away with the innovations that are killing us, that were born of the Enlightenment, and return to the reunification of faith and reason. So men are reason in all their various levels, the different types of the Rohirrim, the horsemen, that's common sense. And Aragorn is high reason. He contemplates the eternal. He's the last one. The soul that this is about is on dire straits. Okay, but he is the natural king, because high reason is the natural king of the rational soul. Okay, and Tom Bombadil is the free will. That's why he can do anything he wants. But he's in close relationship still with Goldberry, who's the intellect and the conscience. This is all scholasticism. Okay, this is all scholastic psychology. But they're fallen now, in their fallen form. They were given new bodies by the power of growth, Aule, who made the dwarves, by the way, to actually inherit these fallen souls. And now they're restricted to the material realm. So the wizards the hobbits are the cardinal virtues. The wizards are the intellectual virtues. Gandalf's philosophical wisdom. At first he's pagan, he's gray. Then after the fall, he becomes Gandalf the White. He comes back, he's a Thomistic theologian. Okay, then he's in direct conflict with Saruman, who's practical wisdom, who takes the image of John Dewey. This is John Dewey personified. And Wormtongue, his evil servant, is the Marxist teacher, unmanning even the common sense in the soul. Okay, Radagast is rational intuition, if you know the characters. So we've got people like the orcs are vice. They're absolute vice, gnawing at us. Okay, and then the Uruk-hai are even higher, and Tolkien names them after the first human city, Uruk, and they're not ashamed anymore. It's the sin that's born of the too close association and influence of other human beings in cities, and they become proud. They become proud of their sin, and they're no longer afraid of the sun. And the sun is the fallen spirit of Laurelin, and she is the conscience. So if you thought The Lord of the Rings was beautiful, you have no idea till you really understand what it's about.
Right. And the reason that you can understand it, and I can already see it now, and most modern Catholic, even theologians, can't understand what you're saying, is because they've rejected Thomism, and they've embraced Rahnerism. They've embraced the Novo Theologia, which rejects Thomism. And so now I'm seeing it. All of a sudden, it clicked as you're talking. I'm saying, no wonder nobody's been able to crack the code here. You have to approach this book as a Thomist, and that's persona non grata today with the Church of Nice. And it's as I hear you talking, I'm very good friends with Father Chad Briberger. We're very good friends, and I hear him saying the same thing. Like I asked him, Father Chad Ripperger, why is there so many cases of diabolic affliction? He goes, Jess, there's a lack of virtue in our country. We've got to cultivate virtue. There's a lack of virtue. Because I've known him for years and we're good friends, and he's my mentor.
Yeah,
I'm hearing you say the same thing right now. You just said, when you said it's the cultivation of virtue that's going to be the solution to this crisis of AI. I'm saying, this is what Father Ripperger has been telling me since 2013.
Yeah.
So,
go
ahead.
I'm a big fan of Father Ripperger too. I'd like to get him a book. I think he would really thoroughly enjoy the book. All Catholics really need to read the book, because it really brings J.R.R. Tolkien up front and center in this combat. And he is unmasked for the ultimate warrior, like Aragorn with the reforged sword. And that reforged sword, by the way, is dialectics. It's the art of reason. Okay, word is just word with an sword is word with an S in front of it. Okay, it's the sword word. It's okay, and it is about the rebirth of the white tree. Okay, if you know about the white tree, that can never be tended. It can never be attended. It is the TLM. He takes it right from Cicero's poem, The Marian Oak. And he makes it very clear that with the return of faith and reason and the rewedding of Aragorn and Arwen, because elves are faith and men are reason, okay? And they come back together, the last of the two. The high reason is Aragorn, and she's the last of the daughters of faith of Elrond. And he was raised by Elrond, by the way, okay? And they come back. And this is a story about reversion, because they're both descendants of Luthien and Beren, which were the innocent childhood faith and reason joined together in Luthien and Beren. And and it's so deep and so rich. We do not have
I know
to cover everything.
I can go 10 hours with you on this.
Well, I'd love to come back. Jesse, I got to say something. John Henry Weston has interviewed me several times. He's great.
Yeah.
And he's got guts, because I'm an outlier, very much an outlier. And people look at me and I try to tell them what this is about, and they think this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So he can't be. Somebody would have figured this out already. This can't be true.
Right.
Okay. So I really appreciate you having on me. Joe, our mutual friend, Joe Gallagher, was telling me, hey, you gotta be on Jesse's show. Jesse's your people. He'll appreciate what you're talking about. So I thank him for that, for helping me get on your show. But
well, it makes everything you're saying right now, it makes sense with my faith and reason component. With my hard drive here, as I'm listening to you, I'm saying this guy is tracking in the right direction. And yes, God will use the humble to shame the wise. God will use the lowly to shame the mighty. And God is probably using, somebody just like as yourself, the least of the kingdom of God, Paul List, to basically interpret a book that's very Catholic and very Thomist. And it's gone over most people just watch the movie as entertainment or read the book as entertainment, but you're getting into it theologically and philosophy. And I think that is absolutely brilliant. I always just watch the movie for entertainment and skim through the book, but now I'm going to read it with newfound filters.
Yeah. Read my book. All the filters are there. You could actually go to the last of the
exactly
index.
What I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go right to the source. So let's get the book. Everybody who's listening that wants to see, we're right around the corner from this AI monster, this AI beast. The book is called readmountdoom.com, readmountdoom.com. The author, Paul List. Paul, you got about 30 seconds. One more appeal.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to just say that we have to return to virtue. We have to become saints, because that's going to raise us above, as much as possible, the realm of the machine, the beast. And we have to do away with pornography. Never looked at pornography. That is Shelob, the spider. That is pornography. And the file of Galadriel with the light that drives it away, that's filial fear. Okay, this is all so steep in traditional Catholicism.
And this is all in your book, right? This is all in your book.
It's all in my book. Yep. And don't be afraid to buy it. If it's more convenient to buy it on Amazon. We need the exposure. No, we need to get it out there to more people. And
you need an audience with the Pope. We need
to get one to the Pope.
You need an audience with the Holy See.
Let's make it happen. Get me an audience with Father Ripperger. He'd love it.
Okay, my friend.
God bless you, Jesse.
Paul, thank you very much for coming on. Get the book. It's called Mount Doom, Prophecy of Tolkien. This is a fascinating book for such a time as this. You can get the book at readmountdoom.com, readmountdoom.com. I'm going to pick up a book. I definitely want to learn from somebody who's pretty much cracking the code here. He's cracked the code.
Definitely. Yep.
And
just scratched the surface.
Everybody's talking about AI, the Pope, Elon Musk. This is something that's front and center. And so, yes, we finally have a Catholic who's helping us understand the depth of this through Tolkien's writing. Thank you very much, Paul. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Saint Faustina's Prayer for Priests. O my Jesus, I beg thee on behalf of the whole Church, grant it love and the light of thy Spirit, and give power to the words of priests, so that hardened hearts might be brought to repentance and return to thee, O Lord. Lord, give us holy priests. Thou thyself maintain them in holiness. O divine and great high priest, may the power of thy mercy accompany them everywhere, and protect them from the devil's traps and snares, which are continually being set for the souls of priests. May the power of thy mercy, O Lord, shatter and bring to naught all that might tarnish the sanctity of priests. For thou canst do all things. Amen. Virgin most powerful, pray for us.
Virgin Most Powerful Radio, sharing the gospel with clarity and charity.